What's up, everybody? With the Trivi banner and the Yunli banner about to leave in Honkai Star Rail, many players are asking themselves one thing: should I bother summoning on the next banners? And while most people have made up their mind with Mide, there actually is a low-key sleeper better pick, and that is the Rerun. So obviously we got to go over the Rerun, which is HuoHuo, right? I'm going to go over her kit, talk about what light cones you could probably use for her, what are some of her better teams. That way you get a better idea of, do I like this character's kit? Do you like the character in general, right? That's probably something you should already know going into this video. Hopefully, HuoHuo is kind of an older character. Her story has not fully played out, but her main story section was kind of a long time ago, so you probably already met the character, right? So seeing what she does, knowing if you have to get her light cone or if you have options, and then if you run teams that she'd be really good on, then you go from there. If the answer is yes to all of them and you have the Jades and you want the character, then I say that's a pretty good reason to summon. So let's go over the character. Before we get into it, let me know in the comments if you're going to summon for the character at all, if you're skipping, going for dupes, going for the light cone. Let me know, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Pure Fiction is resetting, so I'll have a best teams video and then my own clear as well, and then if it's possible maybe a budget video. So unfortunately with a little bit of the power creep, it's kind of hard to make budget videos, mostly because a lot of the good budget options are kind of getting old at this point. Like Gallagher, still a great healer, right? About a year old, right? Mose, he's like what, 6 months old, 5 months, something like that. So yeah, this character's getting old. But anyway, let's get into the video. So HuoHuo is a 5-star wind abundance character, right? On her basic attack, she deals 50% of her max HP to a single target enemy. Yada yada, you know. You either scale off attack or you scale off of HP for your basic attack, right? It's still going to do like 20 damage. Like, let's be real. Her skill dispels one debuff from a single target ally and immediately restores this ally's HP by an amount equal to 21% of HuoHuo's max HP plus 560. At the same time, restores HP of all allies that are adjacent to this target ally by the amount equal to 16.8% of HuoHuo's max HP plus 448. So what you want to do with this skill is have your three in need of healing characters all right next to each other, which is normally going to be your DPS support and your second support, or maybe your sub DPS or your second DPS, whatever your team is, right? And have HuoHuo either in preferably the last slot, because a lot of buffs now work with character in the first slot, like Lugasha, right? Boosting the attack of the character in slot 1, right? So you have HuoHuo at the very end, and then you use the skill to heal the 3, because HuoHuo skills off HP, so she's going to be pretty damn tanky and should live. You can obviously heal her, but you want to have your 3 squish your characters all right next to each other for this skill. The 2 characters on the side will almost always heal to full. My whole build is not too crazy, and this skill still heals an absurd amount. Then on HuoHuo's ultimate, regenerates energy for all teammates, excluding herself, by an amount equal to 20% of their respective max energy. At the same time, increases their attack by 40% for 2 turns. This is quite a bit of energy, not as much as someone like Tengen or Sunday, but it is AoE, so that is pretty damn nice. Then on her talent, after using a skill, HuoHuo gains Divine Provision, lasting for 2 turns. Its duration decreases by 1 turn at the start of HuoHuo's every turn. If HuoHuo has Divine Provision when an ally starts their turn or uses their ultimate, restores HP for that ally by an amount equal to 4.5% of her max HP plus 120. At the same time, every ally with 50% HP percentage or lower receives healing once. When Divine Provision is triggered to heal an ally, dispel 1 debuff from this ally, the effect can trigger up to 6 times. Using the skill again resets the effect's trigger count. This is very nice because HuoHuo doesn't have a heal on her ultimate. If you need an emergency heal, you can ult with that character, or if they just start their turn, they also get healed. This will help you from being into a situation where HuoHuo isn't going to act fast enough and you might end up getting KO'd. As long as you have her skill up, right? There'll be an indication, kind of like Rerun May, and pretty much every single character has like those little diamonds next to them, right? Then you'll have this. You can only trigger it up to 6 times, but hopefully you're building your HuoHuo fast enough to where can just skill again, right? So HuoHuo has some emergency healing in her kit. Nothing as crazy as Luosha or almost said Tribi. as Linksha, right? But it's still emergency healing nonetheless. Then on HuoHuo's technique, HuoHuo terrorizes surrounding enemies, inflicting horror struck on them. Enemies with horror struck will flee away from HuoHuo for 10 seconds. When entering battle with an enemy with horror struck, there's a 100% base chance to reduce every single enemy's attack by 25% for 2 turns. So it's just extra survivability, and if you are using a character who wants debuffs like Ratio, this counts, right? Next up are her bonus traces. When talent is triggered to heal allies, HuoHuo regenerates 1 energy. Not a ton, but I actually have gotten off of this a few times, so it is pretty nice. It could be a bit more, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. Then increase the chance to resist crowd control debuffs by 35%. This is very helpful because HuoHuo needs to be able to cleanse with her skill. So her getting CC would be rather unfortunate, especially if she got CC when you didn't have Divine Provision up to cleanse debuffs. So that's just nice, you know. When battle starts, HuoHuo gains Divine Provision for 1 turn as well. That way you have it off rip. Then her side bonuses are 28% HP, she scales up HP, so W, 18% effect res, which, like I said, if you get CC, that'd be pretty annoying, and then 5 speed, so you can hit the speed threshold. Now, I don't recommend going for dupes, but I'm gonna go over there anyway. Like most characters, HuoHuo's best one is basically her E1. Well, some obviously E6 for a lot of characters is really good, but it's unreasonable to have someone spend that much. E1 is a bit more relatable to have. So E1 increases the divine precision produced by the talent by 1 turn, and when she has divine provision, all ally speed increases by 12%. This is really nice for you know, characters who want speed, right? You know, if you pair her with Rerun May, everyone gets a nice jump in speed. E2, if HuoHuo possesses Divine Provision when an ally target is struck by a killing blow, the ally will not be knocked down, and the ratio will immediately be restored by 50% of the max HP. This reduces the duration of Divine Provision by 1 turn. This effect can only be triggered 2 times per battle. Then E4, when healing a target ally via skill or talent, the less HP the target ally currently has, the higher the amount of healing they will receive. The maximum in healing provided by HuoHuo is 80%. Then E6 is when healing a target ally increases the target's damage dealt by 50% for 2 turns. I almost said 5 turns. Imagine. E6 is very nice, but honestly, E1 is pretty much the stopping point just for the extra speed. Now, in terms of light cones you'd want for HuoHuo, she actually has a lot of good options that are 4 stars, including the Guanifan light cone that is free in the Herta store for extra healing. Most of the time, I just use Quid Pro, right, for the extra any for my allies, and I call it a day. HuoHuo doesn't really need too much else. Her healing is absolutely incredible, and she has a light HP, so she doesn't really ever die, right? Now, since the light cones are pretty free-to-play friendly, you really only need 1 copy of HuoHuo, and you can go about your day. So for teams, I recommend using her on. Funny enough, the reason I originally summoned for her on her debut was for the Dot team, because she's giving energy and attack on her ultimate, which the Dot team can greatly benefit from, right? And this is still the case as well. Other teams she can also be used for is Aglia, because Aglia wants energy. I use her on my Sunday Robin / Tribute, depending on who I want to use, team, and she does incredibly well. And for other teams, you can also use her with just your generic crit rate, crit damage DPSs. Hell, I even used her with Acheron, even though she can't take too much advantage of the whole inflicted debuff and give a stack to Acheron, she still can increase attack, and then at least she's giving energy to the other allies who on their ultimate might be able to inflict the debuff, so you can go from there. Overall, she is a excellent sustain. You know, not as good as a sustain as someone like the Witcher or Linksha, like I said, but she gets the job done nonetheless. And she's pretty old. She came out with Argenti, which was, I believe, 1.7. Yeah, it's 1.7 or 6. I can't remember. Do we end on 1.8 for ratio? Ratio was 1.7. It was the patch before ratio and Rerun May. So she's pretty damn old. She's pretty damn old. All right. But nonetheless, still an excellent character, especially if you already have her and you want to get the extra speed. This extra speed can be very useful for dot characters, for break characters. If you don't want to run Gallagher for whatever reason, she can be useful. Someone like Firefly wouldn't really take too much use in the energy, but the attack helps nonetheless. Another good team, by the way, is Yunli. Yunli is very much going to like HuoHuo because Yunli wants energy to always be able to counter, and then attack scaling, and then just overall healing, especially because when you trigger the ultimate on Yunli, which is very easy to trigger, this will heal Yunli and have her get more survivability. But other than that, HuoHuo really just works with everybody. It's mostly just Yunli, Aglia, and Dot that she excels at. But like I said, you can use her in pretty much every comp and find success. Now, should you summon for HuoHuo? If you do not have two premium healers, I highly recommend. Natasha and Lynx are great, but they don't quite cut it. Same with Bailu and Jeopard. Gallagher can work, right? There are situations where Gallagher could fraud out and just not be able to heal you, but that is pretty rare, especially for me. At least I don't run into that situation too often now. But if you're rocking, like I said, Lynx or Natasha or Bailu or Jeopard as your sustain, you have no one else, I highly recommend grabbing a healer. If it's not HuoHuo, at least try to grab someone else, like Linksha, Aventurine, hell, even Luocha, right? Having a 5-star sustain actually is a game changer in survivability. But other than that, that'll be it for the video. Like I said, let me know if you are going to summon for HuoHuo in the comments. If you're skipping, why are you skipping? And of course, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.